The sound of my whistle cuts through the pre-dawn silence like a dull blade. It's a lonely, sharp sound that dies quickly against the neighborhood's high walls. I've been doing this for 15 years. I know every loose cobblestone, every dog that barks out of turn, every streetlight with a burnt-out bulb. But there's one thing in this neighborhood I don't know, and I pray, every night, that I never will. They say curiosity killed the cat. In my case, curiosity didn't kill anything. It just opened a door that should have stayed sealed with cement and fear. What I saw on 2nd Street wasn't a ghost. Ghosts are echoes of the past. What I saw was hungry. My name is Marcus, night watchman. It's honest work, invisible work. People pay me to be their eyes while they sleep. But rule number 1 of surveillance is simple. Never look where you shouldn't. On our route, 2nd Street is a dead artery. Wide street, lined with ancient trees whose canopies close overhead, creating an eternal tunnel of shadow even under the midday sun. And in the middle of that street, like a rotten tooth in a healthy mouth, sits the house. The architecture is old. Something from the 50s. Large sash windows and plaster that peels like sunburned skin. The older neighbors don't speak the owners' names. They just lower their voices and say, "It's locked up." But it isn't empty. The rumor that runs through the guard booths, traded between us watchmen over black coffee and cheap cigarettes, is about the woman in the window. They say if you stop your bike in front of that rusted gate and fix your gaze on the upper left window, the master bedroom, she appears. Not an ethereal apparition, a mass of flesh. A woman with distorted features, screaming without sound. A scream you feel in your bones but don't hear with your ears. I'm a practical man. Bills to pay. Daughter in college. Fear of hauntings is a luxury for those without overdue payments. My strategy was always simple. Skip 2nd Street. Patrol the parallel street. Cut through the alley. Move on. Until that Tuesday. 7:30 p.m. The sky still held that purple bruise tone, twilight fighting against the night. I was in the alley running parallel to the back of the house on 2nd Street. The weather was stifling, that pre-storm heat that makes your uniform stick to your back. Group of kids playing soccer in the street, boys around 12, 13. Their energy contrasted with the weight I felt in my chest that day. I stopped the bike to adjust the mirror and light a cigarette, trying to ignore the sensation of being watched from behind. That's when the ball in a clumsy kick flew high. Perfect arc over the high wall covered in ivy and glass shards. Vanished. The sound that followed wasn't a ball hitting dirt or grass. Thump. Dull. Soft. Like it had landed on something. Yielding. The boys froze. Their silence was immediate. They knew where the ball had fallen. "Hey, Mr. Marcus." The smallest one, Lucas, came running up. "Can you help us out?" I exhaled smoke, reluctant. "You know you can't kick the ball that way, kids." "My bad, Mr. Marcus, it slipped," said another older. "The ball fell in the backyard. That one." He pointed with his chin, avoiding looking directly at the back wall of the house on 2nd Street. "Can you get it, sir? The back gate's kinda busted, we've seen it." I looked at the wall. The service gate, rotting wood, really did look like it would give with a push. Rational logic shouted in my mind, "It's just an overgrown yard. You go in, grab the ball, get out, be the hero." But my stomach went cold. The legend. The woman in the window. "It's getting dark, boys. Better let it go." "It's Marquinhos' new ball, mister." Lucas clasped his hands together. Prayer position. "Please, it'll be quick. You got the flashlight and the baton, nothing can get you." That phrase hit my pride. Nothing can get you. I was the watchman, the authority of the street. If I refused out of fear of an empty house, I'd lose respect. Deep breath. Bitter taste of tobacco. "All right, stay here. If I take too long, the Jaguar got me," I joked. Found no humor in it. Got off the bike, adjusted the baton on my belt, turned on the flashlight, walked to the wooden back gate. The wood was damp, smelled of mold. Light push, and the hinges groaned. Sharp sound of rusted metal, and the gate gave way. I took the first step onto the property of 2nd Street. expected to find overgrowth, silence, trash. Maybe some rats running through abandoned construction rubble. My flashlight cut the initial darkness of the side corridor, illuminating the peeling wall. But as I moved through the narrow corridor toward the main backyard, something impossible happened. First, the smell didn't smell of mold or death, smelled like barbecue, roasted meat, charcoal, open beer, cheap perfume, dense, warm, human. Then the sound, bass, muffled at first, becoming clearer, thump, thump, thump. Music, electronic beat, slightly industrial, mixed with laughter. Loud laughter, overlapping conversations, clinking glass bottles. I stopped mid-corridor. My mind tried to recalculate reality. Not abandoned, someone bought it. They're throwing a party. It was the fastest, stupidest relief of my life. I turned the corner and entered the backyard. The scene was vibrant, yellowish lights, those makeshift party string lights hanging from dry trees. People, or what looked like people, scattered across the lawn. Curiously trimmed, plastic table with drinks. I turned off the flashlight, felt like an idiot intruder. Put away the baton. "Good evening," I called out. Tried to sound cordial. "Excuse me?" No one stopped the music, but two figures stood out near the kitchen door. Wide open, pouring light and heat outward. Young, a guy and a girl. Dressed in black, goth style, but caricatured. The clothes looked like velvet, too heavy for the heat. They turned to me in unison, movement too fluid, too fast. "The ball," I said, pointing to the yard. Tried to ignore the feeling that their eyes were slightly too large for their pale faces. "Some kids kicked a ball here. You see it?" The guy smiled. Perfect teeth, white as new porcelain. "The ball? Ah, yeah." His voice didn't match his age, raspy, deep, like it came from inside a well. "Was here just now, but Zieg took it." "Zieg?" The name sounded wrong, harsh. "Yeah, Zieg," the girl completed. Deep, purplish circles under her eyes contrasting with wax-like skin. She pointed inside the house to the staircase visible through the kitchen door. "He took it upstairs, said it was his now." I hesitated. The music inside seemed louder, more chaotic. "Look, I don't want to bother anyone. If you could call this Zieg." "He doesn't come down," the guy cut in. Smile still frozen on his face. "He's in his room, just go up, go ahead. The party's open, Watchman." Watchman? I wasn't in full uniform, just the tactical vest over a gray shirt. How did he know my job with such certainty in the dim light? But the logic of the party still held me. So many people, so much life. Couldn't be dangerous. Just a break-in, drugged kids, maybe an illegal rave. If I didn't go up and get the ball, I'd return to the boys empty-handed. "All right," I said, steadying my pace. "I'll talk to him real quick and come right down." I passed the two goths, crossed the threshold of the kitchen door. Sharp drop in temperature. The heat of the yard vanished. Inside the house, the air was freezing, like an industrial air conditioner on max. I stopped, looked back at the yard. Still warm out there. The contrast didn't make sense. A cold breeze hit me from somewhere deeper in the house. I looked up at the sky through the doorway. The clouds seemed heavier, grayer. "Stop tripping, Marcus." The music that seemed to come from speakers now seemed to come from the walls themselves. I looked at the dark wooden staircase leading to the second floor. Upstairs, no party lights. Just dense gloom and a silence that seemed to devour the sound from below. I placed my foot on the first step. The wood creaked, sounded like a bone breaking. Every step I climbed seemed to take me further from the world I knew. First thing I noticed was the sound. Downstairs, party at its peak. Electronic beat making the floorboards vibrate under my boots. But reaching the fifth or sixth step, something bizarre happened. The sound didn't diminish gradually. It was cut, like someone had closed a heavy, airtight door between the ground floor and the stairs. Music and laughter became muffled, distant, metallic. Sounded like an old radio tuned to a dead station buried 6 feet under. The freezing air intensified. My breath started to condense. Small white clouds before my face. I stopped mid-staircase, gripped the handrail. That's when my flashlight, still in my hand though turned off, hit the wood. The beam flickered on for a second from the impact, illuminating the steps above. What I saw made my blood stop. Dust. Thick layers of gray dust covering the upper steps, spiderwebs hanging from the ceiling like torn bridal veils. My mind tried to process it. If this Zieg guy went up here with the ball, if there are people in this house, why is the dust undisturbed? I looked at my own feet. My boots left deep, clear prints in the dust accumulated over years. Only footprints there. No trace of Zieg. No trace of the ball bouncing. Logic screamed, "Get out. Now." But morbid curiosity, that fatal attraction we have for the abyss, pulled me upward. I needed to see. Needed to understand why the party downstairs seemed so alive and the path up seemed so dead. I finished climbing. Second-floor hallway stretched before me, plunged into almost solid darkness. 3 doors, 2 closed, 1 on the left, wide open. From that open door, white clinical light leaked into the hallway, cutting the gloom like a scalpel. Too strong, buzzing slightly. Those old fluorescent bulbs that flicker before burning out. I walked over, floorboards groaning under my weight, betraying my presence with every inch. Reached the doorframe, looked inside. Bathroom, tiles once white, now yellowed by time and stained with something dark dripping from the joints. Sink cracked, but not empty. In front of the mirror, back turned to me, stood a woman. Old party dress, maybe from the 80s, full of sequins that no longer shined. Hair thin, falling in dry clumps over bony shoulders. "Excuse me." My voice came out as a strangled whisper. She didn't turn, continued her task, putting on makeup. But the movements were wrong, spasmodic, mechanical. I saw her reflection in the dirty mirror. She held blood-red lipstick in a clenched fist, like a child holding a crayon. Applied it to her lips with excessive force. Red smeared, going off her mouth, up her cheeks, down her chin. Grotesque mask of a sad clown. Then she stopped. Hand froze in the air. Through the mirror, her eyes met mine. No white in her eyes. 2 spheres of milky, wet blackness. And the skin. God, the skin on her face didn't seem attached to her skull. Looked loose, sliding slightly, like a latex mask melting in heat. She opened her mouth to speak. No human sound came out. Jaw dropped lower than anatomy would allow. Dry clicking sound echoed, bone hitting bone. Clack. Fear hit me, not as a feeling, but as a physical punch to the stomach. Realization crashed down with the violence of a car wreck. I'm not at a party. I'm on 2nd Street. I'm the idiot who looked at the window. I'm going to be a statistic in tomorrow's paper. I took a step back, stumbled over my own feet. Wanted to run. Legs felt made of lead. That's when I saw the red light. Next to the bathroom, the last door in the hallway was ajar. Unlike the white light of the bathroom, a pulsating red glow came from there, like a furnace or a giant heart beating inside. I swear on my daughter's life, I heard the sound of the ball. Plop, plop, plop. Sound of a ball bouncing slowly on a wooden floor. It was bait, and I bit. I needed to see the ball. If I saw the ball, it would become real, tangible. I'd grab it and run. My anchor to reality. I pushed the door with the tip of the baton, hand shaking so much the metal tapped against wood. Annoying noise. Door creaked open. The room was empty of furniture. No bed, no wardrobe, just piles and piles of things. Old clothes, unmatched shoes, broken toys, trophies of a macabre collection of forgotten trash. And in the center of the room, under a red bulb hanging from a bare wire, was him. Zieg wasn't a boy. Zieg wasn't human. The figure crouched, squatting, but knees bent backward, like the hind legs of an animal. Thin, skeletal, gray skin stretched over pointed ribs. No shirt. On his back, spine protruded like a saw. Facing away from me, focused on something on the floor. Marquinhos's ball. He held it with hands that had fingers too long. Curved black nails caressing the ball, but his nails pierced it, sinking into the rubber. The ball. I let slip. Involuntary. The sound of my own fear. The creature stopped. Zieg's head turned slowly in my direction. Not his body. Just his head. Neck cracked. Turning at an impossible angle, almost 180 degrees. The face. No nose. Just two vertical slits in the middle. Mouth was a horizontal slit sewn crudely but smiling. And the eyes. The eyes reflected a yellowish, sickly glow. Like a cat's eyes in the dark. He stood up. Tall. Very tall. Head brushed the ceiling and the red bulb swung, making his shadow dance and grow over me, swallowing the room. He opened the slit of his mouth. The voice didn't come from his throat. Came from behind me. From the hallway. From the bathroom. From the walls. Stay for the party. No rational thought. No plan. Only animal survival instinct screaming one order: run. I didn't run. I launched myself. Self-preservation shut down any refined motor coordination. Pure adrenaline. Pure panic. Behind me, the sound wasn't human footsteps. Heavy, hard claws scratching and piercing the floorboards at high speed. The hallway seemed to pulse. Walls, previously covered in faded Victorian wallpaper, now seemed to close in. Throat of an animal swallowing prey. Red light from Zieg's room leaked into the hallway, casting his shadow ahead of me. Elongated, deformed shadow with arms trying to grab my ankles. Past the bathroom door. The makeup woman wasn't in the mirror anymore. She was in the doorway. As I flew past, she lunged out. Didn't try to hold me, just screamed. No sound came out. Jaw plummeted, loose, hitting her chest. Cloud of black moths flew from her throat, beating wings against my face. I screamed, flailed my arms to swat insects away, threw myself down the stairs, didn't go down steps one by one, tripped on the third, rolled, hit my shoulder on the wall, slid the rest of the way. Old wood tore my uniform, burned my skin, landed on the ground floor. Knees. Impact sent shock of pain through my spine. Lifted my head, expected to see the party, the lights, the exit. Party had changed. Electronic music stopped. In its place, static buzzing, deafening white noise that made even my teeth ache. And the guests. Those goth kids, people laughing, glasses clinking. All standing still, frozen, all of them looking at the stairs, at me. But their faces had melted. Where there were once smiles and eyes, now only smooth, pale, wet flesh. No eyes, no mouth, no nose. Just mannequins of human flesh wearing velvet clothes. The goth couple blocking the kitchen door, my only exit. They had no faces, but I knew they were smiling. Felt malice radiating from them like heat from an oven. Leaving so soon, Watchman? Voice didn't come from them. Came from the ceiling, from the floorboards, from the creature descending the stairs behind me. I looked back, Zieg at the top of the stairs, not walking down, crawling down the walls, upside down, limbs contorted like a giant spider. Yellow glow of his eyes fixed on me. Terror turned to fury. Fury of someone who knows they're going to die. I drew my baton, miraculously still on my belt. "Move!" I bellowed, voice cracking, charged at the faceless figures at the door. Expected to collide with solid bodies, expected to fight. But when I slammed into the goth guy, he came apart. Not flesh. Ash. Dust compacted into the shape of a man. At my touch, he exploded. Cloud of gray, rotten dust. Choking me, covering my eyes. Went through the cloud, coughing, blind, groping air until I found wood of the kitchen door, turned the handle, locked. Behind me, sound of Zieg landing on the living room floor. Thump. kicked the door. Once, twice. Rotten wood cracked. Third kick, I put my entire body weight into it. Door gave way with a crash. I fell out, rolled onto backyard grass. Air outside was cold. Stood up, stumbling. Expected to see party lights and trees. Expected to run through guests in the yard. Darkness. Total and absolute darkness. No lights and trees, no drink table, no guests on the lawn. Just tall grass reaching my waist. Brambles and thorns scratching my legs. Sepulchral silence of the night. I looked at the house. Kitchen door I'd just broken down was closed. No, not closed. Boarded up. Rusted wooden planks crossed in an X. Blocking passage. Spiderwebs covering the entrance as if no one had passed through in decades. My mind collapsed. I just came out through there, I just kicked that door. But no time to question. Feeling that Zieg was still inside, watching through the cracks made me run. Ran down the side corridor. Same one where I'd smelled barbecue minutes before. Now smelled of cat urine and wet earth. Back gate fallen exactly as the boys said. Jumped to the street. Fell onto asphalt. Panting. Heart beating so hard it felt like it wanted to break my ribs. Mr. Marcus! Mr. Marcus! The boys. Still there. Standing at the corner. Time. Felt like hours had passed for me. For them. Maybe just minutes. Lucas ran up. Eyes wide. You okay? You're white as a sheet. I sat on the curb, shaking uncontrollably, grabbed the boy's arm with excessive force. Did you guys? My voice was a wheeze. Did you see anyone leave? Did you hear music? Boys looked at each other, confused. Music? What music, mister? The older one asked. You went in and everything was quiet. We even thought you left through the other side. The party, I murmured. There was a party. There were people. Where's the ball? Lucas asked. Innocent. Did you find Marcos's ball? I looked at my hands, covered in gray dust and soot. There's no ball, I whispered. No party, nothing in that house, just Zieg. Who's Zieg? One of them laughed, nervous. I jumped up. Anger returned. Go home. Now, get out of here. Don't you ever go near that house again. Boys, scared by my scream, grabbed their things, ran down the street, calling me crazy. I stood alone in the deserted street. Slowly, very slowly, I turned to look at the house on 2nd Street. It rose against the night sky like a giant corpse. Windows were empty black sockets. Peeling plaster looked like leprous skin under the streetlight. Took my flashlight from my belt, pointed it at the upstairs window, the room where I'd been, the room with the red light. Beam of light passed through dirty glass. No red bulb, no piles of trash, no Zieg, just void. But then I saw it, in the bathroom window next to it. Light from my flashlight reflected on something. Mark on the glass, from the inside. Handprint. Hand made of grease, or makeup, or coagulated blood, and right below the handprint, written in the dust of the glass backwards, a single word. Watchman. Flashlight fell from my hand. Glass lens shattered on asphalt, plunging me into darkness again. Didn't pick up the flashlight. Got on my bike. Sped off. Didn't stop until I got home. Locked all doors. Wedged a chair against the knob. That day, I didn't just lose the boy's ball. I lost certainty of how the world works. Resigned the next morning. Made up excuse about back problems. Truth is, I can no longer stay in the dark. Sleep with the hallway light on. My daughter thinks I'm going senile. Maybe I am. Maybe it was all a delusion caused by some toxic gas in that ruin. But there's one thing that doesn't let me sleep. Never went by 2nd Street again. But sometimes when the night is very quiet, I hear it. Not the sound of wind. I hear the sound of a ball bouncing, coming from my own attic. Marcus crossed a boundary he shouldn't have. But where was he? Was it just a haunted house, or was it something more dimensional? Comment. It was Satilan if you think you recognize the signs. Or, It was just a house if you think he hallucinated. And tell me, have you seen those yellow eyes in another report? If you felt a chill down your spine, hit that like button. It helps keep our fire burning against the darkness. Subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't just tell stories. We open doors you're afraid to touch.